My name is Matt Grierble. I'm the senior director of go-to-market in sales and engineering at Cavallo. I've been with the company for about 9 years, and today we're going to talk about three different distribution scenarios that we solve for in Business Central with our powerful workflow tools. And so specifically what we'll be looking at today is our SalesPad for BC, or the Mission Control workflow engine. And so we sit directly on top of Business Central to really automate any of those, heavy touch point manual processes in that order management flow. And we do that with a very powerful no-code workflow tool set that gives you not only complete visibility, but also automation over your process. And so if there's things that you're doing like managing complex reservations or back order scenarios or drop shipments that need to be managed with some kind of conditional logic, that's where we really come in and drive a lot of value for organizations. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today, is that Mission Control tool that really gives you that extra order orchestration layer on top of Business Central. And the specific scenarios that we'll look at today, and by no means is the tool set limited to just these three, but these are the three that we'll focus on today. The first would be automated back orders. And so if you do have, scenarios where you're out of stock, how do you manage that, that back order? How do you know when additional stock arrives and to move that order through to the warehouse to be picked, packed, and shipped without running reports and manually going into those orders to see if they're ready to ship? Another one that we'll look at is drop ship orchestration. So if you have, a situation where your vendors are shipping directly to your clients on your behalf, how do we quickly and easily drive those POs or generate those POs without, a lot of extra manual touch points? And then finally, we'll look at priority reservations. We have a lot of clients that have, complex needs around reserving inventory for certain customers or subsets of customers. And so that could be a big challenge inside of Business Central. And so we've developed a way to create kind of a future reservation that will hold that inventory to guarantee that you have it for those key strategic accounts, whether it be a buying group or just a large strategic account that you need to make sure you've got that inventory available for at the right time. So with that, we'll go ahead and spend most of the time here in the Business Central environment and inside Mission Control. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my Mission Control environment first. And we'll talk a little bit more about this towards the end of the demonstration, but I wanted to pop over here just to provide a little context for the walkthrough today. And so this is a visualization of the sales document workflow that I have set up for today's demonstration. And so the way it works is you create all your logic inside of our workflow engine, and then you execute on those orders inside of Business Central. So you're using the standard native Business Central order entry screens to create your orders, and our logic engine will then pick them up and route them through the queues based on whatever conditional logic you've built out. So just as an example, I have a new order queue here. And so orders kind of go into that first entry state. And then there's a host of conditional evaluations that occur. And one of the evaluations we'll see today is, does one of the lines have a drop ship item on it that requires a purchase order? If that's true, we want to route it to the drop ship queue and then automatically generate those matching POs without having to manually go in and do anything extra on the back end. Another thing we'll look at today is a back order scenario. And so again, starting in our new order kind of initial state, evaluating that conditional logic that says, hey, this line's back ordered, let's route it into this back order queue. And then let's run an automated job to look at that queue to say, hey, when stock comes in, if it's sufficient to satisfy this back order, let's go ahead and move it through to the pick, pack, ship and make that reservation to move that document along. And then the other one we'll look at, like I said, is the reservations. And so we have a concept of a future hold order that will preserve a reservation for a specific customer or a subset of customers. And then when the actual orders come in, it will draw that reservation down and reapply it to the actual order. And so we'll see this concept of inventory reassignment from those hold orders that exist sort of in advance to make sure we've got that inventory locked in for that particular customer or customer group. At the end of the day, what we're trying to accomplish for Business Central users is very simple. It's really looking at the time you get an order to the time you collect the cash and trying to condense that time frame as much as possible by really looking to eliminate as many manual touch points as possible in that process flow. And so with that, let's go ahead and jump in to Business Central. And like I said, we'll come back to this in just a moment, but I want to show the execution of those orders and what that looks like for a user in BC. So I want to point out that we have this mission control menu option, and when you drill into that, we have something called the Sales Monitor. And the Sales Monitor is going to display effectively a linear view of that workflow we just saw. And so just as an example, I can see my order here, and I've got all of the different queues or stages in that flow. And I can see at any given time the documents that are in each one of those stages. So for example, in my back order queue, I currently have 8 sales documents that are on back order. So if I wanted to drill into that, I could go ahead and go into that queue, and then I could see the specific orders that are waiting on materials there. So the idea is that not only is the workflow creating kind of a flow for you, but we're also automating that and then giving you visibility the whole time as those documents progress. So you're not just going into a general list lookup for sales documents and trying to make sense of what stage they're in. We're going to allow you to see exactly where they're at with this Sales Monitor view. So with that, I'm going to jump back and we'll go through those different scenarios. And we're actually going to start with the dropship scenario, and then we'll go back order and then into the reservations. So I'm going to grab this customer here. We'll do a new document, create a sales order, and I'm just going to add through. We'll move this through my queue and kind of show the automation that happens in the background. So I'll just add this item on, and I'm going to tag it with a dropship designation here. So we'll go ahead and do that. So there's a dropship. And so I've got the, it's got a line item on it. It's going to dropship. One of the things I want to point out here is I've got a submit button. So this is so what this does is it pushes the order into the workflow. I'm going to do everything today on demand and but tip.
Matt, you're breaking up a lot. Oh, I lost you.
Yeah, maybe Matt, turn your camera off.
Now he's frozen. Oh, there he goes. I think he got disconnected from Zoom.
Can you hear me okay?
Now I can.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, yeah, the internet just glitched for a second. Let me go ahead and get back in here. Okay, just let me reshare. Okay. I'll leave my camera off just in case that glitches out again, but we'll go ahead and get this going again here. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. Can you confirm you're seeing that screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go ahead and continue from here. And so I've got my workflow queue, my new order, and you can see that I've got a dropship line. So I'm going to go ahead and release this into my workflow. And like I said, I'm going to use the submit button just to push that through. And as we see this go through our workflow, it'll go into this dropship queue per the routing. And I'm going to open up my actions. Oops, let me reset that 1 second here. I don't think it took that last action when the internet glitched out on me there. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a line item here. Oops. And I'm going to mark that drop ship. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and submit that through. And as that goes through, you can see that it landed in that drop ship queue. And I'll go ahead and pull up the actions so we can kind of see what happened on the back end when we did that. So if we go into our actions, we have an activity log. And the activity log will show exactly what happened when we released that to workflow. And so here we can see that we had a purchase order automatically generated for us. It was the 106063. So I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go to requisition worksheet. It just recognized that, hey, there is a drop ship line on this PO and that we need a PO generated for it, and went ahead and did that. And we also have a docked view here to make it easy to find those documents. And so I can go ahead and go in and open that document and go into my the PO that was created, and there's my linked PO right there. So again, all I did was hit submit. The workflow recognized that there was a dropship requirement, generated that for me, and now I have visibility in my workflow queue for drop shipment. We'll go through another scenario here for back orders. And so let's say we have an item, and this time we're not going to drop ship it. We want to get the goods, bring them into our warehouse, and we want to do the pick, pack, ship from our main facility. And so I'm just going to go ahead and come in here and add that same item, but this time I'm not going to tag it as a drop ship. So we'll go ahead and put that on there. And so no drop shipment on this. I don't have stock. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And what we'll see is that this is going to go into my back order queue. And as I mentioned, we don't have to submit these to trigger workflow actions. We can have automated rules looking at these queues. So in a production environment, we would have a rule looking at this queue and saying, hey, when that stock is sufficient to satisfy this line item, let's go ahead and reserve it and move it through to the next stage. And so that's going to sit in that back order queue. And I'm just going to mimic what happens when I have a receipt come inbound for an item. And so I'm just going to go in and do a quick adjustment for this item here to kind of show what happens. And so we'll just add 1,000 units into this location to kind of mimic again what happens with a purchase receipt. And then I'm going to jump back to that order, and I'm going to submit again to show what would happen if we resubmitted this through workflow. And so it's in the back order queue. So let's say the job runs and says, let's try to reserve that again if there's stock available. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to submit that again. And now that we have stock, it's going to move into the next phase of my workflow automatically, which is the pick package phase. And so we'll see that happen now. And so you can see pick package happen. And again, if we wanted to go in and see what happened in the activity log in the back end, we'll see that it moved to pick package, it reserved my inventory, and that was all based on the fact that I do have stock now. If I didn't have stock and that ran, it would just keep it in the back order until stock was available. But the whole idea is rather than having to run a report, go back into the document, it's just going to automatically review that queue for me and then make that reservation and move that through. So it's really touchless at that point, the back order management. Last scenario I'll show real quick here is a reservation scenario. So if we have a situation where we have different customers that we want to maintain a certain inventory level for, we can actually do that by creating a reservation hold order that maintains that stock for that specific customer. So if I go into this reservation hold queue, we can see that I have an order in there that's holding inventory for a buying group. And I've made an association with customers to this buying group through some filtering that we create for you in the back end. And so this is just a generic buying group for buying group A. And if I go down to these items, we can see that I have reservations in place for both of those. And as the actual orders come in, I'm going to draw down from this order against that existing reservation. So it's guaranteeing that I have that stock available for a specific subset of customers. And so in this case, this item here, this 1908S, I've got 230 left for that reserved quantity for that particular item and buying group. And so I'm going to go back and grab a customer here just to kind of show you. And there was 230 left on that particular reservation for the 1908S item. And so I'm going to go into my customers. This particular customer here is associated with that buying group through the connection we've made through our filtering. And so if I created a new document for that particular item, that 1908S, we can see exactly when I release this, it's going to go into inventory reassignment, and it's going to draw down against that previous inventory reservation. So I'll scroll over here and show you that the reservation hasn't occurred yet. Let's go ahead and put 15 on this for the quantity. And I'm going to go ahead and submit this into my workflow. And as I submit this, we're going to see it go into inventory reassignment. And then I'll show kind of the drawdown of that previous inventory reservation. So we'll see that pop into inventory reservation. If we again look at our actions that ran in the background through our activity log, we can see that the 1908S reservation was drawn from that previous order from line 2000 to this line. And we can see that it moved into that inventory reservation queue to do the reassignment. So if I go into that previous reservation hold order and look at it, we'll see the drawdown of that stock against that advanced reservation. So we can see here that it was originally 230 and now it's down to 215. So the whole purpose of that is, again, to have that future hold. So if you have strategic customers or if you have buying group customers that you've guaranteed and committed to have a certain amount of inventory over a certain specified period of time available for them, you can create that future hold. And then as their actual orders come in, you can draw down from that through this workflow function. And again, this is by no means an exhaustive list of things that it can do. It's really infinite, the capabilities that can be accomplished through that workflow engine. So I'll go ahead and stop there, and I apologize for going a little bit over there, Amy. Appreciate that, and I'll hand it back to you.